You know what? It's so funny actually, guys, but so many times I start thinking about, did my team made a reservation in my favorite place? And I was like, I think there is nothing like when you call someone like champion, when you hear the champion, it's like, how can I actually complain about anything? Like if you won.
Thousands of Philippine flags filled the stands amid a deafening roar that no one in Linz, Austria, had anticipated, all for a player who wasn't even originally listed in the main draw. That was merely the beginning. Germany hadn't even begun yet. Alexandra Eala reached the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart on April 13th.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be back. Can't wait to be out on court and I hope to see you there.
The excitement growing inside that arena is already on a completely different level from anything this event has ever experienced. A 20-year-old from Manila, ranked 45th in the world, only secured her place in the main draw because Olympic champion Qin Wenzheng withdrew due to injury. Yet, Stuttgart's organizers promoted her entry as if she were the star attraction, not merely a substitute. That single detail reveals everything. Now, enter Aryna Sabalenka into the equation. The undisputed world #1 and four-time Stuttgart finalist, the player who has dominated discussions around this tournament for years, was officially confirmed, absent from the 2026 Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. She is not here. Weeks before Stuttgart even started, former ATP professionals Sam Querrey and Steve Johnson openly stated, Ali already attracts bigger crowds than Sabalenka, even when you combine them. When Sabalenka heard that remark, the entire tennis world fell completely silent. Speechless doesn't even begin to describe it. Subscribe right now, because what unfolds inside Stuttgart this week will truly astonish you. So, exactly how did Eala manage to make Germany embrace her in a way it has never done before, leaving even Sabalenka without words? Let's begin with the moment the tennis world stopped focusing only on rankings and started noticing something far more captivating.
Absolutely, and that there's a certain stepladder that you have to go through before you get to elite sport. So it starts really in high school.
She advanced all the way to the semifinals of a WTA 1000 tournament, the first Filipina in history to achieve this feat. Before that semifinal, her coach pulled her aside and said something she later shared publicly. Alex, you're in the semifinals of a Masters event in Miami, and you're competing for a chance to face the world #1. She lost that semifinal to Jessica Pegula, but the impact, or more accurately, the awakening had already taken place. Filipino supporters across the globe rallied instantly. Social media erupted. Broadcasts that previously had average viewership suddenly faced overwhelming traffic. Courts where Eala played turned into packed, standing room-only venues. The tennis world had witnessed enthusiastic fan bases before, but this was distinct in its depth, size, and worldwide reach. Steve Johnson, the former American pro, explained it clearly on the Nothing Major podcast in February 2026. Eala was creating the same kind of impact on crowds that Brazilian star João Fonseca had produced on the men's side. Arenas were filled to capacity, with an energy so powerful that even neutral spectators tuned in just to soak in the atmosphere. And that was all before Germany. Here's something important to reflect on. When Eala entered the Stuttgart main draw as a replacement for Qin Wenzheng, she was ranked 45th in the world. Just 2 weeks earlier, she had reached a career-high ranking of 29th after an impressive run in the early 2026 hardcourt season. A loss to Karolina Muchova in Miami's round of 16 caused her ranking to drop again. By normal tennis standards, a 45th ranked player joining a WTA 500 event as a last-minute replacement would be considered a minor detail, a simple scheduling adjustment that deserves only a brief mention in the draw announcement and nothing else.
Of course, we have to mention Alex Eala, the incredible fandom coming, across the globe, especially from the Filipino community. So
it wasn't about Stuttgart, nor even about Germany, but rather a single afternoon in Miami, Florida, back in March 2025. At that time, Eala was just 19 years old and ranked outside the top 60. She was a promising junior talent who had been quietly training at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca since 2018, largely unknown beyond Philippine tennis circles. Then, Miami changed everything. She tore through the draw. Match after match, opponent after opponent, Eala sliced her way through one of the toughest fields on the entire WTA calendar.
Well, with on and off the court. Again, another physical battle, but
Stuttgart's organizers handled it very differently. Their official social media announcement about Eala's inclusion stated, "Fans can now look forward to seeing Alexandra step in." That careful wording, Presenting her arrival as something fans should eagerly anticipate was an intentional decision. Tournament directors do not use such language for insignificant entries. They reserve it for major attractions. German fans reacted exactly as expected. The Filipino community in Europe, which had already gathered strongly for Eala's matches in Linz just days earlier, immediately began planning their trip to Stuttgart. The same flags that had filled the arena in Austria were now being packed for the Porsche arena. This is what a genuine like-never-before moment actually looks like in real life. It isn't forced publicity. It is an authentic, organic, cross-continental fan movement that has rallied behind one player, and that player is now standing on German soil for the very first time in her career. Now, let's discuss the aspect that creates real discomfort for the tennis establishment. Arena Sabalenka did not miss Stuttgart lightly. She skipped a tournament where she had reached the final 4 times. 4 times she made it to the championship match at the Porsche Arena and left without the title or the Porsche 911 Carrera S Cabriolet awarded to the winner. Jelena Ostapenko was the latest to stop her, defeating her in the 2025 final. For Sabalenka, Stuttgart represents unfinished business. It is probably the most important tournament she has never won on the European clay circuit. Therefore, her absence in 2026 is not a small scheduling matter. It is a noticeable void in her pursuit of legacy. But here is the part that cuts even deeper. While Sabalenka is missing, the main conversation filling tennis media in the lead-up to Stuttgart has not been about her unfinished mission at this venue. Instead, it has centered on whether Eala, a player Sabalenka has never even faced, has already overtaken her as the sport's biggest crowd magnet.
Yes. That's why we like her, because she's the face of the Philippines.
Sam Querrey asked Steve Johnson straight on their podcast, is she bigger than Sabalenka? Is she bigger than Coco? Johnson's reply was just one word. That single-word answer, given instantly and without any reservation, hit tennis circles like an explosion. Because Johnson is not a commentator hired to create drama, he is a former world top 1-0 player who spent many years on the tour and truly understands what real crowd appeal feels like from personal experience. His opinion carries real authority that a casual social media comment cannot match. John Isner supported it from another perspective. He highlighted the enormous potential of the Philippine market, a country of over 100 million people who are deeply passionate about sports but had never before had a true star at the highest level of women's tennis. They now finally have one. Isner noted it would be the same if they had a men's star too. The point is that this isn't only about Eala as an individual. It is about an entire nation finally seeing its representative shining on the biggest stages in the world. The passion that comes with that cannot be matched by any single country's traditional fan base. Sabalenka has Belarus behind her. Golf has the United States. Swiatek comes from Poland. Eala has 100 million people who have waited decades for this moment. That is the simple calculation that leaves the establishment without words. However, there is a real challenge that deserves honest discussion. Eala is not a clay court specialist.
Protected, there need to be more of them. Prison life is very difficult for the wardens and the prisoners.
Her rapid rise through 2025 and into 2026 was built almost completely on hard courts. Miami, Dubai, and Indian Wells were the surfaces where she made her name. Clay is an entirely different challenge. Her 2026 clay season began in Linz with a solid 6-4, 6-3 victory over Austria's Julia Graber, controlled, calm, and efficient. Then Jelena Ostapenko appeared in the second round. The defending Stuttgart champion, a 2017 French Open winner, plays clay with an intensity that disturbs even top 1-0 players. Eala led 4-2 inches the first set and 5-1 inch the second, yet still lost 6-4, 7-5. That outcome is significant in context. It means Eala arrives in Stuttgart not riding high on confidence, but following a loss that clearly revealed her weaknesses on this surface. Ostapenko, who is also in the Stuttgart draw, now carries a mental advantage into the event. Their overall head-to-head stands at 2-1 inch Eala's favor. But Ostapenko has figured her out once on clay and knows it. Eala herself admitted she is still building her physical strength for these kinds of opponents. In Miami, a WTA interviewer asked her directly how she prepares for players who are bigger and stronger. Her response was refreshingly honest. "You could say that everything I do is to prepare myself for those players. I'm still in the process of getting stronger." Such self-awareness is uncommon at age 20, but self-awareness alone does not win matches on indoor clay against Grand Slam champions. Results do. So, Stuttgart presents Eala with a true test. The crowds will show up no matter what. The Philippine flags will wave proudly. The atmosphere will be electrifying from her very first step onto the court. But tennis ultimately requires the player on the baseline to earn the roar from the stands. This is the event where Eala can prove that the massive fan movement behind her is not just impressive entertainment, it is the background for a real contender. Stuttgart is not merely another stop on the clay season. It sits between Linz and Madrid on the calendar, serving as a bridge between early adaptation and the serious preparation for Roland Garros that Madrid offers. For a player still adjusting to the surface, every match in Stuttgart holds extra importance. But for Eala specifically, Germany means something that goes far beyond tactics. This is her first time on German soil, and her debut in front of a European audience that has been prepared for months through viral highlights, podcast statements, and community coordination to welcome her at a level this tournament has truly never experienced before.
Does really well, and I think there's a lot of things that make her opponents feel very uncomfortable.
The Porsche Tennis Grand Prix has welcomed some of the most admired players in WTA history. German crowds are knowledgeable, passionate, and fully committed to the sport. They do not create excitement for players who have not earned it through performance. Yet, the tournament's own wording when announcing Eala's entry hinted that they expected something special. That expectation now stands at the center of one of tennis's oldest questions. Can the player live up to the moment? Can the talent match the story being told? For Sabalenka, watching from afar while missing a tournament she has reached the final of 4 times without winning, as a 45th ranked Filipina takes over the entire conversation, the silence must feel overwhelming.
To me, it was very disappointing.
And that is exactly what the title of this video refers to. Not a direct quote or a press conference comment, but the undeniable, heavy silence of seeing someone else take over the space you once owned and realizing the crowd didn't even notice when you stepped away. The Stuttgart draw places Eala in a strong field featuring Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff, Iga Swiatek, Jasmine Paolini, Mira Andreeva, Karolina Muchova, and defending champion Ostapenko. Every round offers a chance to make a powerful statement. Every victory would echo far beyond the scoreboard. A strong run here reaching the quarterfinals, semifinals, or further would do something for Eala's career that no hardcourt success has completely accomplished yet. It would show that her clay court weaknesses are being fixed. It would place her name in Roland Garros discussions with real substance instead of just optimistic hopes, all with the home crowd fully supporting her. And it would happen in Germany, in front of audiences that welcomed her in a way this event has never witnessed before, on the same stage that Sabalenka could not conquer in 4 attempts. The narrative almost writes itself perfectly. Almost. Because tennis has a habit of humbling even the best written stories. Ostapenko already demonstrated that in Linz. The red clay doesn't care about flag numbers, podcast comments, or fan movements. It rewards timing, footwork, physical strength, and the skill to build points under pressure against players who have dedicated their careers to mastering this surface. Eala understands this. Her team understands this. The training block she completed at the Rafa Nadal Academy before this clay season was not by chance. It was focused preparation for exactly these conditions. Whether that preparation is enough is what Stuttgart will reveal over the next 7 days. The Philippine flags are already packed. The Porsche Arena is about to experience what Linz felt and then some. Germany is ready. The only remaining question is whether Eala is ready for Germany. If this analysis gave you a fresh view of the Stuttgart story that you haven't found anywhere else, subscribe right now. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the match previews, result reactions, and in-depth breakdowns as the clay season heads toward Roland Garros. This channel explores the perspectives that mainstream tennis coverage often overlooks.
crowd completely behind